The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Financially Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Andre Creighton. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. For those that are new, thank you for stopping through. Hope to see you again as we continue down this path to becoming financially fit. For those that have been rocking with me since day one, I appreciate y'all. I'm seeing the views, and hopefully you're getting something that's fruitful to help you in your journey to becoming financially fit. I want to apologize real quick. Last week, I had to take the week off. I was dealing with some illness. As you know, I have a 1-year-old, and they carry all types of germs when they go to daycare. So I caught whatever he had, and I thought I was going to see my maker, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought that it was my day, but I'm back and I'm better, and I'm ready to hop into another day with the Financially Fit Podcast. So this is part 3 of our series. Today we're talking about some of the things you should be doing in your 40s. Obviously, I'm not 40 years old. I'm 32, but I'm on my way to 40, and I'm thinking about these things, right? I'm doing the things that I want to do and need to do in my 30s to set myself up for my 40s. But today I'm going to talk about what I think you should be doing in your 40s that will help propel you towards being more financially fit as you approach retirement. So number one, the most important thing that we talk about is paying down that mortgage. So a lot of people in their 40s at this point now are more established. They have a home, and they have a mortgage, and maybe they've had it for 5, 10, 15 years, who knows, right? But really it's looking at paying down that mortgage. Now, there are some instances where it might not make sense to pay down that mortgage, right? Or to pay that mortgage off. Depending on the interest rates, as I mentioned in the prior podcast, we're in a very high interest rate environment right now. About 3-4 years ago, it was about 3 to 4%, 4.5%. So that's what we consider more of a lower interest rate environment. So when you have a low interest rate like that, sometimes it might make sense to just pay what is due on the mortgage and be using that money to diversify, right? Putting that into investments, putting that into savings. But some things that you can do if you are trying to pay down your mortgage is pay one extra payment per year, right? One extra payment per year can save you tens of thousands of dollars, right? And it can expedite you paying off that mortgage several years faster. So it's super important to think about those things and be analyzing, what you should do. This is also another reason why you potentially should be working with a financial advisor, because the financial advisor will be able to look at your whole picture of all the things you're doing, all the assets, liabilities you have, and be able to tell you where your money is best spent. Most times they're looking at the interest rate environment within the mortgage, within the home environment. They're looking at the interest rates with investments. And based on the rate of return, they might tell you that it doesn't make sense to pay off your mortgage. It makes sense to invest this money, or it might make sense uh, to do a refinance, right? If the interest rate environment is lower than what your current interest rate is. So those are all things that you want to be analyzing as you're continuing down this path to becoming financially fit. Number two, so in your 40s, you are in the decade where most people in their 40s have close to 20 years of experience or more. So you're in that period of your life where you're likely earning more money than you've ever made. This is what they call the peak. The peak of your career is typically in your 40s. So with the peak gives you an opportunity to be able to use your money more wisely and really start to prepare yourself to be able to retire at the age that you want to retire at. However, as we talked about, the things you should do in your 20s and your 30s, if you haven't done those things, a lot of people in their 40s will be tackling those things to catch up. So that's why it's so important if you're a young person in their 20s just starting out, it's important to be doing those things early on. So when you get to your 40s, you're not backtracking, you're not trying to catch up to where you should be or where society says you should be in your 40s. So as you're earning more, you should really be thinking about, how can I put more money to my retirement? How can I invest and diversify my portfolio? Because the last thing that you want to do is not have diversification. We see a lot of people that maybe they go all in and they are only investing in stocks, right? Super volatile, right? So I'll give you an example. 2020 hits, COVID comes. There's a lot of people in their 60s that probably are looking to retire. If they had not moved their investments over to bonds and started to get that slow growth, but where they're not really losing too much, but they're not gaining too much, they likely lost a lot of money in their retirement, which then they're like, okay, well, maybe I got to work another 3, 4, 5 years to let the market recover, and then I'll retire. That truly, the market can truly dictate and change your plans, right? So as I'm sitting here as a 32-year-old, I would love to retire by the time I'm 50, 55. If I can retire sooner, great. But 20 years, 23 years from now, I don't know what the market's going to look like. Some other disease could come up, or some other, the home market could tank, or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen in the world. So it's very important to diversify so you have those different investment vehicles that you can pull from if need be, if hardships come. Specifically those ones that are very liquid. And I know a lot of people are not a big component of whole life insurance, and I understand why. I'm not going to get into that on this podcast, but I do have whole life insurance, and I like it because it's a liquid investment. It's a liquid tax-free investment. Now I know that the dividends don't move at the rate of what inflation does, so technically over time I'm losing money. But I love the fact that I could pull that money if I ever, I lose my job, or my wife loses their job, or something like that. I have the ability to pull that as a safe haven, along with the money that I have in my emergency savings. So that's super important to me. I'm not telling you to do that, but that's something that's within my portfolio that I love to do to make sure that I'm diversifying and putting myself in a good position. The next thing is ramp up retirement. So at this point in your 40s, you should have 2 to 3 times your salary in your retirement. So if you make $100,000 a year, you should have $200,000 to $300,000 in your retirement. Okay. If you don't, that's okay. That's okay. I think a lot of people get down on themselves when they realize that they're not quite where they want to be, and that's okay. But let's talk about the things you have to do to catch up, right? So if you are where you need to be, you should be contributing anywhere from 12 to 15% to that retirement every paycheck. And what that will allow you to do is be at a place later down the line where when you hit 60, 65, you're ready to retire, you're ready to go. If you don't have 2 to 3 times your retirement, you probably should be looking at 18 to 20%, right? So you're going to have to pay more to be able to catch up for those years that you didn't contribute to your retirement. So as I talked about in your 20s and 30s, even if you're taking a small amount, if it's $50 a paycheck or $75, whatever it is, you should be contributing something to your retirement because that's going to save you in the long run when you get to your 40s. So don't be down on yourself when you're in your 20s or 30s and you're like, man, I'm just trying to survive. Rent's very high. I can't put $200, $300 to my retirement every paycheck. That's okay. Put $10, put $20, whatever it is. It's only going to help you in the long run because as you continue down this path, you're going to make more money, and the rate of which you're making more money should increase at a higher rate than the expenses that you have within your portfolio or within your personal finance. So that's super, super important. At the end of the day, I really want to help you guys get to a point that you can retire in the time period that you feel is best for you in your life. So these are some of the things you need to do. The next thing is discuss discuss finances with your parents and your children. So, for those that do have children, I have a 1 year old. Uh, as soon as my kid gets to about probably 5 or 6, I'm gonna start talking about, putting money in his savings. We probably will do something where he's doing some chores and he's getting some type of allowance every couple of weeks when we get paid. And I want to teach him the 70/30 rule, right? Where he's 70% of it's going to your expenses, which he likely won't have any expenses unless he wants some fancy Jordans or something like that. I ain't paying for that. He can rock the Shacks like I used to from Payless. My parents were not giving me the brand name shoes. So, but that's all a part of the learning. And then also, putting the 20% um, to to your savings and things like that, and then 10%. Eventually you want to be able to give, right? Give back to charity or do things like that to help your community. So that's the 70/30 rule that we talk about. We want to be able to teach our kids that, but then also a lot of you in your 40s will have parents that are getting a little bit older, right? And as you may know, as your parents are getting older, they might not be able to care for themselves in the way that they used to. So where does that fall? Either falls on them going into a nursing home or sometime some type of long term care um, assistance, whether that's in home or out in a clinic or something like that, or it's going to fall on you helping them, right? And what I'll tell you is, specifically in the Black community, we've been raised that as your parents get older, you take care of your parents. I saw it with my parents taking care of my grandparents as they were getting older, but I also saw the strain that put on them to try to help them as they were trying to build themselves. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I certainly will also be taking care of my parents as they get older, but it's important to have those discussions about what do they have for finances? What can they afford? Uh, is their house paid off? Do we need to look at selling their home and downgrading? Those are the things that are so important. Do I need to have a power of attorney for my parents? I saw that as well when my grandfather passed. When my grandfather passed, we had a cabin in Brainerd that my grandpa built with a friend. He was very handy. We had that all the way from the time that I was born to about 18 years old. I guess my dad decided he wanted to sell it because he didn't want me throwing any college parties up there. But I digress. So it's very important to think about those things because the last thing that you want is your 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 parent passes away and now you're stuck with a home that needs a new roof, needs new windows, needs new carpeting, needs all of these things to get it to a point that you can sell it, because at the end of the day, your parents work so hard for what they have. I know my parents have. I want to make sure that I can get the most out of that home, whether it's renting it out or selling it, to be able to help propel my family forward. So then the generation coming behind me, my son and their sons or daughters, can be better set up for life because of what my parents had done and what I did throughout my adulthood to help set them up. That's how you build generational wealth, everyone. The last thing is give back. Now, giving back is so important because not only are there tax benefits for you, right? You get to write those things off as an itemized deduction. which will give you, I believe, 2% of itemized deductions. Sorry if you hear my son crying. Just the times with being an adult and having a little one at home. But giving back is so important. Not only does it help change the community around you, right? Everyone wants to live in a community where there's nice parks, there's lots of things to do for your children and the youth. There's lots of things to keep those children and youth out of trouble. That's by giving back. That's what you do. You're pushing forward programs to be able to help youth get to a position where you are as an adult or better, right? So giving back is so important. And we always say that it should be about 10% of your income that you should be giving back every year. Now, obviously, if you can't do that, if you don't have a lot of residual and your expenses and your retirement are taking up all of your residual money, those should be your priorities first. But when you get to a point where you're stable, it's sustainable, you want to be able to give back, because not only is it important to community, but it makes you feel good. People don't talk a lot about that feel good, right? There's a lot of things in this world, I think, that we see in society that don't make us feel good, right? You watch the news, you see all the tragedies and all the things that are occurring in our world, how people are disconnected based on race or the way that they talk, or just even different perspectives. The piece that will always be consistent is giving back to the community. That's something that we all can do to create more togetherness within our communities. So the 5 things I talked about today: pay down your mortgage. It's very important. Okay. And make sure it makes sense. Find you a financial advisor that can help you with these things. Earn more money. So in the 40s is the peak of when you should be earning probably the most that you'll ever earn in your career. And if you're not, you should be looking at different certifications within your respective field, or things, going back to school, whatever it may be, to help you become a higher earner. Okay. The third thing was ramping up your retirement. Obviously I talked about that 12 to 15%. If you are not, if you've been contributing to your retirement and you do have 2 to 3 times your salary in a retirement account, if you're playing catch up and you don't have 2 to 3 times that, then you should be thinking about 18 to 20%. Okay. So those things are going to help propel you as you continue down this path. The fourth thing was discuss finances with your parents and your children. You want to understand your parents' financial situation to help, not only help them, but to help you as your parents are getting older and they're in need of more care. But then also setting your children up with the right ideologies early on to be able to be successful. So when they get to their 20s, they're doing all the things that we talked about in prior episodes. Then the last thing is give back. As I talked about, obviously there's tax benefits to it. There's things that will help give you a break as you're filing those taxes every year. But it's the feel good. When I give back to my community, I feel good. Some of the things that I do, I do give money to the community in various ways. There's certain organizations I support, but also I'm a high school football coach and at an underrepresented high school. I do that not only because, I'm in a position where I'm very focused on, paying down my debt and focusing on my retirement. So I might not have as much money to be able to give in the way that I want to give. So what do? I give with my time. And that's just as important. So if you can do those 5 things in your 40s, you will be on a right track to being able to retire sometime in your 50s or 60s. So as I always say, it's not about how much money you make. The power is in how much money you keep. Thank you for tuning in to the Financially Fit podcast. Once again, I am your host, Andre Creighton, and I'm so thrilled to be with y'all. I look forward to talking to y'all again next week. Take care.
The cultural districts of Minneapolis revel in the motto of every neighborhood having its own flavor. Whether that's Sabor Latino in Holy Land over in Northeast Minneapolis on Central Avenue, Baracala Restaurant and the Cedar Cultural Center over in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood, or even Mercado Central and Los Ocampo over on Lake Street. And these cultural districts help Minneapolis stay a city on the bubble changing and relevant today and for years to come.
Hi, I'm Shaletta Brundage. I'm a media personality, podcaster, and a business owner. But my most important role is mom. 3 of my beautiful kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. When I didn't know who to trust or where to turn, I found ACRA. ACRA provides home care services to families all over Minnesota. The care is not one size fits all. They know each one of my kids is unique. They listen to what resources we needed and what's best for our family. I've seen my kids grow and thrive with ACRA's in-home care. While autism is the most common diagnosis among ACRA clients, ACRA offers personalized in-home care services for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, behavioral diagnosis, and mental illness. They work with children, adolescents, and older folks too. Find out more about ACRA at their website, acrahomecare.org. ACRA helps me provide my kids with a better quality of life. They can do it for your family too.
Are you feeling crummy? Maybe you think it's a little food poisoning from the potato salad at the picnic, or a summer cold, or your allergies are acting up again. Well, some of these symptoms could be a sign that you have COVID-19. A cough, runny nose, sore throat, and chills could be from COVID. So could muscle pain, headaches, and fatigue, even nausea, diarrhea, or vomiting, and of course, a fever, difficulty breathing, and a loss of your sense or taste of smell. Don't take chances with your health or risk infecting those close to you. Test to find out if you've got COVID. You can get it even if you've had it before and even if you're vaccinated. Contact your local pharmacy or healthcare provider for information about testing.
Children's Minnesota, the leader in specialized healthcare for kids, is here to raise awareness, standards, the bar, the stakes, the question, the curtain. On raising kids' health to the highest priority, kids need equal access to healthcare, more pediatric expertise, a voice for change. Kids need us, all of us. So let's raise them up. Children's Minnesota, the kid experts.
Do you worry that lead-based paint in your older home might be dangerous to your children or kids who visit you? Well, Hennepin County put those fears to rest. Hennepin County offers free lead tests and home assessments. If they find anything, eligible homeowners and landlords can receive up to $15,000 for work on the home, including new windows. The government banned lead-based paint 45 years ago when it was discovered that lead poisoning can affect development and cause permanent damage in young children. But 75% of those homes built before 1978 still contain some lead-based paint. As the paint degrades, it can make dust that little kids ingest when they're crawling and putting things in their mouths. So make sure your home is safe and hazard-free. Learn about testing and that $15,000 grant at hennepin.us/lead control. That's hennepin.us/lead control.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.